All right, assalamu alaikum. Continuing on with the introduction to the science of the Quran. So, on the last lesson, we spoke about how it was orally preserved, right? And some of the misconceptions about the way the Quran should be taught. It isn't, mainly just for memorization without understanding, or not memorizing it or not learning it for the purposes of acting up on it and putting it into practice in your everyday life. So now we go into the second way, is that it was written, right? That the Quran was preserved also through being written. So it starts off by saying there is a common misconception that the Quran was not written during the lifetime of the Prophet alayhi salam. Despite the scarcity of people who could read and write, as well as writing materials, the entire Quran was recorded before the Prophet alayhi salam left this world. It was not compiled in a single book as it is known today, but it was written on various parchments. There were numerous companions, may Allah be pleased with all of them, who were appointed as scribes by the Prophet alayhi salam. Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that 4 people from amongst the Ansar gathered the Quran during the time of the Prophet alayhi salam. So in this hadith you could find in Tirmidhi, so 4 people during the lifetime of the Rasulullah, 4 people from amongst the Ansar. So keep in mind, when the Rasul was in Mecca, a lot of them was illiterate. Then when they went to Medina, they were around learned people as far as reading and writing. So 4 of the Ansar, 4 people from amongst the Ansar, completely had the Quran completely written down on papers. But it just wasn't compiled in one book the way we know it. So Ubay ibn Ka'b, Mu'ad ibn Jabal, Zayd ibn Thabit, and Abu Zayd, right? So this was the 4 from the Ansar that completely had the Quran completely written down during the lifetime of Rasulullah. Now, which we'll get to it, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but people feel like it wasn't written down until around the time of Uthman and just different stuff like that, but I won't get ahead of myself. So may Allah be pleased with all those brothers and reward them with the highest levels of Jannah for what they did with preserving the Quran. Other reports mention that Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali were all, may Allah be pleased with them all, were also scribes for the Prophet alayhi salam. Every time he received revelation, he would command one of them to write it down. The Prophet alayhi salam would tell his scribes where to place the verses. Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, reports that it was the blessed practice of the Prophet alayhi salam that soon after the revelation of a certain portion of the Quran, he would pointedly instruct the scribe to write it in a specific surah after a specific verse. So I have heard people say that you shouldn't even read the Quran in order, because it wasn't revealed in the order that it's in, right? But as you can see, and if you know anybody whoever start to dig into hadiths or tafsirs, you will start to see that, and like it's saying here, which this is just putting particular hadiths in this book, which you can look these hadiths up. But in the hadiths, it explains that when a certain ayat came down, the Rasul told them where to put that ayat and said this ayat is a part of this surah. It's even, well, I guess I'll speak on it a little bit. I just won't get in depth. There's specific surahs. Some had a reason why. Some ask, why does this surah not have the basmalah in front of it? You get different answers. But some didn't write the basmalah there because before the Rasul passed away before he was able to tell them that these two surahs were separate. So they was kind of counting this one long surah as one, but it's technically two surahs. So that's why the basmalah wasn't put there. That's one report. So they was counting them both as one long surah. And then when you look at them and read them and get into the tafsirs, it do look like part of it is continuing on. But the Rasul instructed them where to place everything, so the people who feel like after the Rasul passed away, people just took the Quran and put it in the order that they wanted and all this different type of stuff, you had to keep in mind the Rasul did pray Taraweeh for Ramadan. Now the beauty is, the first night the people did line up behind him. They lined up behind him the second night, right? Third night he put a stop to it. But I mention that because they seen how he started off during Taraweeh. So the way that he started to pray the Taraweeh from beginning to end, and he did his night prayers, so they also knew from these things how to compile the Quran as well. So just to continue on, right? The Rasul, he would pointedly instruct the scribe to write it in a specific surah after a specific verse. Zayd ibn Thabit, may Allah be pleased with him, relates, I used to write down the words of revelation for the Prophet ﷺ. When revelation came to him, he would feel intense heat and drops of perspiration would start rolling down his body like pearls. Excuse me. When this state would ease, I would present him with a shoulder bone or a piece of cloth and begin to write what he would dictate to me. When I was finished, he would say, recite it. I would recite it back to him. If there was a shortcoming, he would rectify it. So it's being recorded perfectly, right? Since paper was scarce during this time, the scribes would write down the verses on whatever they could find. They would write on date palm branches, leaves, stones, slabs, leather scraps, pieces of bamboo, other leaves other than the date palm leaves, right? And animal bones. Basically, they would use whatever they could find that was suitable for writing. Through this method, the entire Quran was written down during the life of the Prophet ﷺ. It was written on various parchments, but it was not compiled into one single book as it is today. Similarly, many companions, may Allah be pleased with them all, had their own personal copies of the Quran that they had written themselves. They would record whatever they heard or memorized from the Prophet ﷺ. So that's to clear up that misconception that the entire Quran was not completely written down during the lifetime of the Prophet. So just to go through some of the stages, it touched on a little bit about the era of Abu Bakr. And we'll just skim through this because y'all pretty much get the message. And then we'll skim through the era of Uthman. Inshallah, bismillah ta'ala. So during the caliphate of Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, the entire Quran was compiled into a single book. So during the caliphate of Abu Bakr, that was when the first Quran was compiled into one single book, not during the time of Uthman. Right? The era of Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, was marked with a lot of difficulties rooted in religious and political strife. There was a war against those who apostatized, those who refused to pay zakat, and other major battles in which large numbers of companions was martyred. For example, over 70 companions who had memorized the Quran were martyred. This created a great level of concern amongst the Muslims, especially amongst the leadership. If the Qur'an, the reciters, continue to be martyred, some of the knowledge of the Quran would be lost. So Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, brought this concern to Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with both of them, and advised him to compile the Quran as a single compilation. Initially, Abu Bakr, alayhi salam, well, may Allah be pleased with him, was hesitant to undertake such a monumental task, but eventually agreed to do so after seeing its benefit. So he tasked Zayd ibn Thabit, may Allah be pleased with him, with the responsibility of compiling the first copy of the Quran. So this happened during the lifetime of Abu Bakr. Zayd ibn Thabit narrated the entire incident. One day, soon after the battle of Yamama, Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, sent for me. When I came to meet him, Umar was present. Then Abu Bakr said to me, Umar has just informed me that a large number of Hufaz have been martyred. If the Hufaz continue to meet martyrdom in this manner, I'm afraid a large portion of the Quran may be lost. So I propose that you undertake the task of the collection of the Quran from different places. I, Abu Bakr, told Umar, how can I do what the Prophet himself, alayhi salam, did not do? Umar replied, by Allah, it is for nothing but good. And he continued to repeat this statement until the light of truth dawned upon me as well, and now my opinion is the same as Umar's. These is the words of Abu Bakr. After that, Abu Bakr said to Zayd, you are young and sensible. We have no lack of trust in you. You had also been a regular scribe of revelation during the time of Rasulullah alayhi salam. So search then for all the verses of the Quran and collect them together. So he basically went and collected everything, went through everything he had, went and collected everything for what he had, right? For everything that was authentic. And they checked it towards the recitations, right? So, and Zayd himself, he was also a Hafid of the Quran. So, but he made sure everything that he checked with everybody else, so they approved of what he had, so there would be no differences, right? So then it says a public proclamation was made calling for written verses of the Quran to be brought to him. When a written verse was brought to him, he would verify its authenticity against his own memory. Then Umar, who was also a Hafid of the Quran, and is proven through reliable narrations to have been assigned by Abu Bakr to work with Zayd on the project, would attest it against their own memory. So written verses would be accepted only if two reliable witnesses testify that they were written in the presence of the Prophet. So they was real keen and real stern on what they accepted. And it was checked against Zayd, Abu Bakr, and Uthman while they was compiling it all into one book. So through this precise and careful method, Zayd was able to compile a master copy of the Quran. In this master copy, the verses was arranged according to the sequence fixed by the Prophet, alayhi salam. So, the way that our Quran is today, this is the way that the Rasul had it compiled and the way he recited it. So they did it the same way. The surahs were not arranged according to the sequence. Now, hold on 1 second. Somebody else. 1 second. Okay. So continuing on. So, although it was compiled in one copy, it wasn't in a connected book like this. The way they did it, each surah was written separately in something similar to a folder, right? So each surah had its own folder. So it was one master copy, but each surah was in an individual folder. These folders stayed with Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, until he left this world, and were then passed on to Umar. And then after Umar's martyrdom, they remained with his daughter, the mother of the believers, Hafsa, may Allah be pleased with her, and were later used by Uthman to make the official copy that was in a book and not in separate folders. So now, through the era of Uthman, which is very interesting. So the new Muslims of these lands would learn Islam generally and Quran specifically from the Muslim armies, traders, and teachers who came in contact with them, right? During the early days of the expansion of Islam, Quranic learning and teaching was complicated because it was revealed in 7 recitations, right? The Quran learning and teaching was complicated because it was revealed in 7 recitations. Different companions, may Allah be pleased with them all, learned the Quran from the Prophet alayhi salam in different recitations. So we're going to pause right there. I'm going to show you, I'm going to get a hadith, and then I'm going to show you these 7 different recitations that's in the Quran. I'm going to actually show you these recitations. Bismillah Allah Ta'ala. One moment. Okay, so we're going to start off with the hadith. We're going to use Sahih Bukhari for this one, right? So this hadith, I guess I can read the whole thing. So narrated by Umar ibn Khattab. I learned I heard Hisham bin Hakim reciting Surah Al-Furqan in a way different to that of mine. Allah's Messenger, alayhi salam, had taught it to me in a different way. So I was about to quarrel with him during the Salat prayer, but I waited till he finished. Then I tied his garment around his neck. Basically, he yoked him up by his collar, but wrapped it around him, right? Wrapped it around his neck. I tied his garment around his neck and seized him by it and basically pulled him to Allah's Messenger, alayhi salam, and said, I've heard him reciting Surah Al-Furqan in a way different to the way you taught it to me. The Prophet alayhi salam ordered me to release him and asked Hisham to recite it. When he recited, Allah's Messenger alayhi salam said, it was revealed in this way. He then asked me to recite it. When I recited it, he said, it was revealed in this way. The Quran has been revealed in 7 different ways. So recite it in the way that is easier for you. So there's more hadith about it as to where the Rasul, because you had different tribes, you had people traveling in from Africa, just different areas, different dialects, and they had a different tongue. So the Rasul went to the angel Jibril to see if they can get the Quran revealed in a different way. So he brought it down and he taught the Rasul 7 different recitations. So I'm finna show y'all, this right here is the most common as far as America. This right here is referred to as Hafs. So in the majority, I ain't gonna say the majority, Americans, you learn Hafs. Hafs was kind of made popular by Imam Hanifa, right? So the Hanafis. And during in India, the Tabligis, who follow the Hanafi madhab, the majority of them, not the majority, they all recite Hafs. So the Tabligis were some of the first ones to come to America, the Tabligi Jamaat. That's why a lot of your masjids is Hanafi, or anybody familiar with the first War of Deen sect. Well, okay, you had the War of Deen community, the leader Nation Islam. Then you had a branch that left from him, and they referred to themselves as the Hanafi Muslims. A lot of people familiar with them from the Black Mafia thing, the Hanafi Muslims. But War of Deen also taught that we were supposed to be Hanafi, and this was from them dealing with the people from India and the Tablighi Jamaat, along with the Ahmadiyans that did Hanafi fiqh. So that's why that recitation in that Quran, this Quran, is so popular in America. And this was the recitation of Kufa, Hafs, for anybody who's not familiar. So Hafs. So this one right here is Warsh, my favorite recitation. And this was the recitation of Rasulullah. So as you go through, anybody who can read the Arabic or whatever, you can see where it's saying it's the recitation of Warsh. So just to show a couple of little differences, for one, let's show a couple of differences with the Fatiha, Al-Fatiha. So you see right here in Warsh, it doesn't count the Bismillah as an ayat. You see what I'm saying? So look, this Warsh, it doesn't count the Bismillah as an ayat. And then also you will see right here in Baqarah, it doesn't count the Alif Lam Mim right here, the Alif Lam Mim. And let me put it up there. It doesn't count that as an ayat. You see what I'm saying? It counts all of this as one ayat. That's Warsh. This was the recitation of Medina. This is what the Rasul and the majority of the companions, this is what they recited in. From the Quraysh, they recited in Warsh. So that's why they refer to Warsh as the Sunnah. Although the Rasul was able to recite in all 7, he taught all 7. So let me show. Let's show. So this is Hafs. This is what most Americans is used to. So you can see right here, it counts the Bismillah as the first ayat. That's why I got this number here. And then it counts in Baqarah, it counts the Alif Lam Mim as the first ayat. So as you learn, as you get to going through them, some of the ayats don't line up. Like, and then also what we know as ayatul kursi, they don't all have the same ayat as ayatul kursi, or split in half. And then the number is different, because if they don't count the Bismillah as the first one, and then in Baqarah they don't count Alif Lam Mim as the first ayat, then that's going to throw your ayats off by one number. So then right here, this is Abu Amr Asusi. This was the recitation in Basra, so I keep them separated. So then, just to show a little something with the Al-Fatiha as well, and then there's difference the way that is recited, but also in this one, it doesn't count the Bismillah as the first ayat. And it also doesn't count Alif Lam Mim as the first ayat. So this was the recitation of Basra, right? And this one is called Abu Amr, and some people refer to it as Asusi. These was like the two teachers of it. Just like with Warsh, you'll hear some people say Warsh and Nafi, right? So just to show you how the Quran has been preserved, 7 qirats, so there's 7 different Qurans. I'm going to let you in on another secret. Sometimes when you have an English translation, and then an English translation, the reason why some of the wording is different, because they came from a different qirat. A lot of people don't know that. It ain't just Hanafi. So right here, this is Kasai, but Ibn Harif. This was also the recitation in Kufa. So this is Kasai, right? Some people refer to it as Al-Durri. So then let's look at the Fatiha in this one. Al-Fatiha in this one. When you look at Al-Fatiha in this one, keep in mind, this was also the recitation in Kufa. So you'll notice the ones Hafs, and this one was a recitation. Both of these was recitations in Kufa, right? So you'll notice they both count the Bismillah as the first ayat, the Basmalah. And then in Surah Al-Baqarah, they count the Alif Lam Mim as the first ayat. There's some more differences. There's some more differences towards things at the end. Recitations is beautiful. It's different. So right there, that's 4 that I've showed y'all so far. Then this one right here, this is Hamza Caliph, another recitation of Kufa, but it wasn't just mainly in Kufa. They also used this one in like, well, I got them broken down. We don't have to go through all that. But this was heavily recited in Kufa. So you're gonna notice something similar as well. They count the Bismillah as the first ayat. They count the Alif Lam Mim as the first ayat. So what you're noticing is some of them didn't count the Basmillah as an ayat. So when you go to the hadiths, think about Warsh. They say the Rasul didn't start off with the Basmillah. He started off with the what? Alhamdulillah. He recited in Warsh. So I won't go through the differences. We're not going to get too technical. But I wanted to show these to people. So right here, you have this Hamza. So far, that's 5 qirats. A lot of people also didn't know that there's 7 different Qurans. So right here is Ibn Amr, right? This was the main recitation in Syria. Now watch what you notice about this one here. What you see, they didn't count the Basmalah as an ayat. Alif Lam Mim. It wasn't the first ayat. It all runs through. So you notice the ones that did that was the main recitation in Kufa. So this one again, this Ibn Amr was the main recitation in Kufa. Now right here, Ibn Kathir. Not Ibn Kathir from Tafsir's Ibn Kathir. Right? Now this is the main recitation of Mecca. Right? This was the main recitation in Mecca. Now, one of the differences is in Mecca, they did count the Bismillah as the first ayat, right? But they didn't count the Alif Lam Mim as the first ayat in Baqarah, right? So, maybe I'll show. So if you know these and you got them, you can go get water and look at Furqan and look at the beginning of it, and then go to a different Kirat and look at it, and then you could be like, wow, they are recited different. They are recited different. So you can see why Umar ended up yoking him up. Let's see something. Let me see something. We got a little time, man. I'm trying to rush. Okay, let's see here, man. Let me take a little time, man. Let's see something. Should have just did it while I was going through it. I don't know why I ain't just started watching my favorite one. Hold up. I done overlooked something. I don't know why I ain't just paused. So, hold on. Let me just pause it for a second, man, so I can find this what I want to show y'all instead of wasting this time. Okay, look. So, continuing on. Right here, this one is in Ibn Kathir. So when you look at Ibn Kathir, right? When you look at Ibn Kathir, you can see right here, instead of, it's probably going to be Alayhim. Alayhim is Alayhimu. You see the Dhamma there? Alayhimu. Right? Also, so you can see it where, everywhere where that's at, it has a Dhamma at the end. Even right here. Alayhimu. Instead of Alayhim, right? Alayhimu. So that's one difference. Then this one right here, which is Hamza, right? I want you to see. So instead of Alayhim or Alayhimu, this one has Alayhum. Alayhum. So there's differences. Alayhum. Alayhim. Alayhim. himu, and a lehum. There's also some differences in, so you can see, of course, with the Malik. So this one is Maliki. Maliki. Right? So you have Maliki, and then you see right here it has an erected fata, so you elongate it. So this one is Maliki. So you hear some people say Maliki Yom Din, and then some people say Maliki Yom Din. So as you can see that, those some of the differences. I think Hafs, because I really do wash in Hafs. See, in Hafs, it also has that erected fata, so they carry it. Instead of Maliki, it's Maliki. Maliki, Maliki. Right? But look at this. So then when you look at, this one is Ibn Kathir, is it? No. This is Asusi. You'll notice right here, they got the Shetta. And then the A. I'm Maliki. So there's a lot of little subtle differences in Fatiha. Then look right here. When you go to look at Warsh, you notice this little line right here at the bottom, almost like a kesra, where the aleph is. Where the aleph is, you have a line almost like a kesra, instead of a fata. You see what I mean? So, and I'll show you one more little difference, man, then we'll close it out. When you go to, this is some of the differences also. When you get to the short swords in the back. So, you notice we're like Surutu Falak and Surutu Nas, right? I'm trying to get this book right. So a lot of people is used to saying Kul, right? I'm trying to get this book right. You will notice instead of Kul, it say Kula. You see the fata, Kula, and then also in Nas, Kula. So it ain't Kul, it's Kula. And then it's even more than that as you go through these two surahs. So as you start to go through them, there's a lot of differences. But I just wanted to show everybody, this is the actual 7 different Quran recitations. There's more differences than what I'm showing, but this is just to show just a little bit. So and then you also have this. So now in today's time, there's still 7 main recitations. It's up to 13 now, but 10 is accepted. So right here, this is where you'll notice this one right here has all 10 qirats. So what it is, the 7, they generally have like 2 main teachers. So some of their students still have the same recitation and enunciation of the words, but they might do it at a slower tone, added a little more beauty to it, but it's still the same recitation. So that's how they ended up with 10, but now they have 13. So this one has all 10 of them. And as you bust this open, right here, this is your house. Then right here on the side in the Arabic, it gives you the explanation and how it should be recited, whether in Warsh, Ibn Kathir. So it breaks it all the way down from the house. And then you can go through and just get it all for all 10 qirats. It's a beautiful thing to get into. So to see the hadith and then to actually be able to get all 7 Qurans. So keep in mind, some of the wording is different, but it's stronger. So sometimes when you're reading something in an English translation, sometimes it depends on which qirat they translated it from. Okay? I'm not going to get into that because I don't, this ain't the time or the place. Because, I don't want nobody getting confused. So because we going through this, and it's said in there, and some people may have never heard that, I wanted to show the 7 different Qurans, right? Now, like right now, in Africa, because keep in mind, the first Hijra was to Africa. So Islam is older in Africa than it is in Medina. The Muslims went to Africa first, before they went to Medina. So Warsh is like the main recitation in Africa. They get busy with Warsh in Africa. You see what I'm saying? So because we read that, I wanted to show the 7 Qurans and to explain sometimes the English translations that you may have came across sometimes is based off of which qirat they translate it into English. Now, when you end up with it in print, they're going to have Hafs. If it's Arabic and English, the Arabic is generally going to be Hafs if you buy it in America, because they put the Arabic in Hafs in these Qurans. But the person overseas translated it to English through a different qirat sometimes. That's why the wording is different sometimes. And once you start to read the qirats, you'll be like, oh, now I understand why this English translation say this. Some people who don't even familiar with the qirats, they'll be, they want to knock the translators and, oh, well, he wasn't a Salafi, all that old stuff that don't make no difference. So anyway, so like I say, Quran learning and teaching was complicated because it was revealed in 7 recitations. Different companions learned the Quran from the Prophet ﷺ in different recitations. These companions then taught it to their students according to the recitation that they learned. These companions and their students went to different lands and would teach the recitation they learned. For example, the people of Syria used to read according to the recitation of Ubayd ibn Ka'b. Like I showed y'all, the recitation of Syria, right? And may Allah be pleased with all these brothers. And the people of Kufa, like I showed y'all, the 3 main recitations, they mainly use those in Kufa, right? We're reading in accordance to the recitation of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. May Allah be pleased with him. So with the spread of Islam, the difference of recitations spread as well. Knowledge of these different recitations was not well known in the new lands, so it started leading to a lot of confusion. Because as people traveled, it turned into, whoa, that's not how we recite Quran al-Kareem or Quran al-Mubin, the clear Quran. That's not how we recite. What y'all doing reciting like that? Right? So, now check it out. I done lost my place. Right? So it started leading to a lot of confusion. It reached to such an extent that people started disputing and arguing with one another about the correct recitation of the Quran. So they get into it the exact same way Umar got into it with Hisham when he heard him. You know what I'm saying? He yoked boy up, took his clothes and wrapped them around his neck. You see what I'm saying? So this concern was brought to the attention of Uthman, who also sensed this was becoming an issue. So the incident that led to Uthman's decision to compile a standard copy of the Quran, which is narrated by Hudayfa ibn Yamin. May Allah be pleased with all of them. Hudayfa noted that the differences were arising amongst the people while he was on a military campaign. He returned to Medina and went straight to Uthman and said, "O leader of the believers, before this nation falls prey to dissension about the book of Allah, like the Jews and the Christians, you must do something." Uthman asked, "What is the matter?" He replied, "I was on a military mission and the Armenian front where I saw the recitation of the people of Syria who followed that of Ubay ibn Ka'b was not known to the people of Iraq. Similarly, the people of Iraq who followed the recitation of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud had not heard of the recitation of the people of Syria. As a result, they started to call each other kafirs." So, of course, what's the other key thing anybody noticed that they was also unaware of? They was unaware of the hadith that the Quran was revealed in 7 recitations. So the Sunnah also hadn't spread. See, knowledge didn't go everywhere like that. They had to travel to learn the hadiths to go with these things. So they also wasn't even aware of the hadiths at this particular time. And these wasn't the scholars. These was your regular layman people. Islam was still new. So check out what it says. They started to call each other kafirs. In response to this concern, Uthman called a meeting of the elder companions and consulted with them. He said, "I have been informed that there are people who say to each other, 'My recitation is better than yours.' And this may be carried to the limits of blasphemy," which they put in parentheses belief. They call in blasphemy a form of disbelief. "What is your opinion on this matter?" They asked him what he thought. He said, "My opinion is that we should unite everyone on a single transcript so that no differences or divisions may occur. The companions approved and supported this view. So Uthman gathered the people together and addressed them by saying, "You all live so close to me in Medina and yet repudiate each other and differ with one another in respect to the recitation of the Quran. It is obvious, therefore, that those who are far away from me must be falsifying and disapproving each other much more vehemently. Therefore, let everyone join together to prepare a copy of the Quran to follow. That should be obligatory for all." Right? This is also one that you can find in Bukhari, right? To carry Athar in Bukhari. To carry out this task, Uthman appointed 4 companions. Zayd ibn Thabit, we knew he was thorough. He had an original copy, not all in one compiled book, but he had an original copy when Rasulullah was alive. Alayhi salam. So Abdullah ibn Zubair, Sa'id ibn Alas, and Abdul Rahman ibn Harith ibn Hisham. He also requested Hafsa, right, to lend the copy of the Mus'haf that was prepared during the time of Abu Bakr, Allahu Akbar, so that they could use it to make multiple copies. This group of 4 companions, along with others, carried out this task carefully and methodically, producing a copy of the Mus'haf that served as the basis for the one we have today. They used the copy they received from Hafsa as the base. However, they did not solely rely on that copy. They adopted the same methodology that Zayd used during the time of Abu Bakr. This committee undertook 4 unique tasks. Firstly, the surahs in the copy prepared by Abu Bakr were not in sequence, meaning they had every surah, but they was all in individual folders, right? So, well, like I say, each surah was written down separately. They placed the surahs in the sequence found today in one copy, which is still, well, it says, this sequence was also taught by the Prophet, alayhi salam, through revelation. So the way we have it in sequence today is the order that the Rasul placed it in, where the angel Jibril came down with him every year and went over it with him and made sure it was placed in this order. Secondly, they wrote the script of the Quran in such a way that it incorporated the different types of recitation. So all 7 was preserved, right? So when it's saying wrote the scripts, let me just read it. So the way that it incorporated the different types of recitations, there was no dots or vowel marks placed on the words so that they could be read in accordance, right? Keep this out. So they could be read in accordance with all the valid reciters. So the reason why your original Quran didn't have these dots, so this was the master copy. They didn't have no tashkil, your vowels, your dots, your sheddas, your hamzas, and these different things. They didn't have them so that individuals looked at it. Now they got a skeleton key of it. Now you can look at it, and then because you got it in memory, right? Then you reciting it from whichever kirat that you already had. This way people wouldn't be looking at what they had and be fighting. So this is some of the sequence when people was talking about Uthman had all these Qurans collected and burned, because also some of the things that happened when people started taking these kirats and then translating them into their language. It was when they, just like how ours translated into English, some translated into Spanish, some of their translations was off. Right? So anyway, for instance, so it was a skeleton key, no dots, no vowels, so that it could be valid recitation for whatever your kirat was. For instance, they wrote, then they go through a little Arabic, so that it could be read as both, and then they go through that. So thirdly, they prepared 7 copies so that they could be distributed throughout the Muslim world. 1 stayed in Medina, 1 was sent to Mecca, 1 was sent to Syria, Yemen, Bahrain, Basra, and Kufa. Fourthly, they checked their transcript against the transcripts prepared during the time of Abu Bakr, along with the personal copies of individual companions. It was the concern and efforts of Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and countless companions, may Allah be pleased with all of them, that led to the production of the copy of the Quran we have today. Allahu Akbar. Allah Ta'ala closed this blessed generation of people to carry out this monumental task and use them to divinely protect His words. Indeed, it is we who sent down the Quran, and indeed we will be its guardians. So, back to what we was talking about yesterday as we closed out. Just imagine when they was in Quran class, the way they was learning it, and all they learned was recitation. Not, Because keep in mind, some of them wasn't top Arabic speaking people. They had to translate it into their languages. Imagine if they didn't learn the tafsirs. Imagine if they didn't learn how to act up on it. But all they had was recitation. And then all they taught, so when they went to compile these or went to teach it to other people, and all they did was taught them how to recite, how would they be able to put the Quran into practice? How would they be able to explain the ayats of the Quran? They wouldn't be able to do it. So, some of the preserving of the Quran comes with knowing what the Quran is talking about, knowing how to implement it, at least those two things, at least be familiar with what's in it, and how to start to put things into practice. It covers marriage, it covers divorce, it covers all type of things. If you focus on reciting, learning how to recite more than reading, even if it's in English, and don't let the shaitan trick you with something permissible. Like, I see individuals, alhamdulillah, they have all type of books in English, right? They don't read them. They don't read them. But then they sit down with a clique of people, and then one person may know Alif Ba Ta and be able to connect Alif Ba Ta. Now they want to learn Arabic and become a serious student and then rebuy all these books. You don't even read the ones that you got in English. So now you finna put all that aside, talking about, I'm finna go learn the Arabic. I'm finna learn the Qira'at. I'm finna learn to recite. I'm finna memorize. I want the Arabic so that I can recite. But you don't even read the Quran in English. You getting caught up in a contest that don't matter. Just like an individual try to say to me, why do you got Sahih Bukhari and you got all your books of hadith in English? But they were serious as a knock. All your books supposed to be in Arabic. And I sit down and say, do you even look at them? They have the Arabic and English in them. So why would I throw away all my Sahih Bukhari, my Tirmidhi and everything, and get them up just to go rebuy them again in Arabic only, when the Arabic is in them? Even when you, let me grab another one, because Bukhari isn't like that. Bukhari is one of the prints that isn't like that because it's been around a lot longer than all the other ones. But when you go through and just flip, like this Sunan Ibn Majah, when you go through and just flip your books around, all of them, Muslim, all of them, Bukhari the one that ain't like that. I do have the Arabic B. You see what I'm saying? Why would I get rid of all of these just to go rebuy them all in Arabic? I'm not caught up in a contest. I'm not trying to please the eyes of the people. And then when I have people over that's over my house, right, who don't know the Arabic or can't read the Arabic, or they might be able to connect Alif Ba Ta, so they might even be able to go through what this say, but they don't know what it means because they don't understand any Arabic. We can sit down. It's the best of both worlds. It's the best of both worlds. The Arabic and the English is in there. English, Arabic. So don't get caught up in that. You don't even read the stuff you have in English, man. You would be a whole lot better dealing with your English unless you're going to be a real serious student and sit down and learn you some Arabic for real and then start to dig into it. You see what I'm saying? But Don't trick yourself. Oh, well, I ain't really finna learn to dig into anything until I learn the Arabic. Then 5 years pass and you ain't even stepped in a class yet. Or you done learn Aleph Bata and how to connect it so you can memorize some short surahs. Don't do that to yourself, man. Don't do that to yourself. Me, I know a little bit of Arabic, but I still be needing training wheels. So sometimes that English is still a good training wheel for me. And then I got several dictionaries. I can go over there and start busting out some dictionaries and get to digging into it. It's the best of both worlds, man. But like I said, I be saying, don't play with yourself. You don't even read your English books. And you've been speaking English your whole life. Now you sitting up telling yourself, now you finna go learn all this Arabic, and you finna buy all these books in Arabic, and you finna toy with the Arabic, and you don't even touch your English books? Don't play with yourself like that. So these things is needed. Knowing the tafsirs, knowing how to implement some of this stuff to preserve the Quran and pass it along. That's why you even have some of the top-notch scholars that say you're not even a hafid of Quran until you know all 7 qirats and able to explain the Quran. Let alone translating it into your own language. Like, I can memorize 50 surahs in Arabic and don't understand none of it. I still got to bust up an English book to navigate my way through it. You can do that with the whole entire Quran, but still, because you don't speak Arabic and don't understand it, you just memorize the words. But you never even read no English. But then, because you're looking for some type of reward, then you'll pick it up. Oh, I read my Quran in Arabic every day, but you get not even an inkling of understanding from it. Arabic, I read every day. I read 10 pages in Arabic every day. And you don't even get this much understanding from it. Don't do that to yourself, man. Because you can't implement any of it. You don't even know what's in it. You could sit down and have a serious, and it done got to the point where Muslims don't even talk about the Quran no more. They too busy trying to talk about fiqh. They too busy trying to talk about what they think is Aqidah. They too busy trying to argue about what is Dalil. Oh, it's a hadith. Sheikh so-and-so said and woo out the woo. The answer you looking for was in the Quran before you even went to any of that stuff. Oh man, me and a sister, man, you know, I want to marry a sister, man, but she feel like my paper, I need to be making $200,000 a year and woo out the woo. Such and such and them said her Mars should be 5 G's and all this other little weirdo stuff. But don't you know that the Quran say if you and a member of the opposite sex, if y'all poor and y'all marry each other, Allah will enrich y'all? So what's all the bickering beef for? If y'all poor and y'all get married and y'all get on this Quran and Sunnah, the paper is gonna come. But instead, they too busy chasing the paper. Some of these sisters will pass up a good brother because they feel like he don't have sufficient money. Let me speak on this before I close out. You will have a female. I'm a wakil. You can have a female living in a Section 8 housing, living in government housing, low income, not as a knock. Rent $35, rent $65. She'll go meet a brother and tell this brother that her rent is $700 a month, $800 a month. Oh no, I can't fool with that brother. That brother can't pay my $700. He can't pay me $700 a month rent plus maintenance money. And I'm sitting up looking at him like, yo, rent $35. And look, wallahi, I done had to tell you can't do that to that brother. I'm not gonna co-sign you doing that. I'm gonna tell him don't marry you. I'm gonna tell him the truth. I'm gonna give you some time to tell him the truth, and if you don't do it, I'm gonna tell him. Don't you fear Allah? But this is real stuff. Females be lying and making up car payments. Oh, my insurance cost this much. All type of different stuff, man. You can't do that. But then pass up a good brother to get a horrible brother who say he could pay that $700 a month rent, but they got a head on their shoulders like me. All you got to do is get on, look up their city, if they not in your same city. Look up their apartment complex. When you pull up their apartment complex, it'll give you the number to the office. You can call the office if the internet don't tell you and find out if it's low income housing or not. Yeah. You can even pull up their house where they live at through their address and find out if it's Section 8 or not. Yeah. You can find out. Now, you find out it's low income housing. Now we know that the housing is based off your income. If they don't got a job and they don't work, you know their rent is nothing. So they not a good brother, but they got a head like mine and went and checked and seen that you had low income housing and said, oh, okay, you trying to play me. And then they get up in there with them sisters, get busy, eat a couple of steak and baked potato meals and some barbecue chickens and whatever else they got going on. And then they tell them sisters, hey, you know what? It was real. It was real. I'm finna go out here and find me a sister that wanna love me for me. But then the sister gonna run rampant about how horrible this brother is. Knowing you get linked, that's what we call in Illinois the food stamp card. Knowing you get a food stamp card, but you want to tell this brother he needs to spend $300 a month on your food. Knowing your rent $35, you want to tell this brother it's $700. But then he a low down dirty individual after he come through and do what he do after a couple of barbecue chicken meals and macaroni and cheese and baked beans, and then be like, I'm about to go find somebody that care about me for me. It was fun while it lasted, sister. And if you want to get messy, I'll just make the marriage so horrible that you want out of it that whatever I gave you as a dowry, you got to give back. Both of them wrong, but the wrong started with her. And I'm talking about real scenarios, man. And where does this come from? The Quran sit down and tell you, you genuine, you poor, y'all get married, Allah rich y'all. So don't chase that paper, man. Don't chase the dunya. But I done ran long. So, I hope people benefited from something that I said. And any mistakes I made came from myself and the shaitan, or anything that I said that was correct came from Allah Azza wa Jal. Muqtadir. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.